homesteaders, as parents, as teachers, as entrepreneurs, going back and revisiting our why kind of helps us stay sane. And it reminds us of the importance of what it is that we're doing. So there are notes here on the screen. If you are following along online, these will be overlaid. It takes really hours a day dealing with or connecting with, depending on how you're looking at it, chickens. I could spend 6 hours a day interacting with chickens. My neighbor next door could spend 30 seconds and they are done. And I could literally spend 30 seconds just picking up a feather and staring at the colors and the way it reflects in the sunlight on, just those herbs or your teas or those avocados, and it's going to make you a few bucks. But I think there are other ways to get a fair share or return on that investment of your time and energy that may not just be dollars and cents. It could be the fair share is edible abundance, i.e. food. If you're spending 6 hours a day gardening and you're not eating out of that garden, beloved, why are you gardening? This is the one I get excited about because I love dirt, I love soil biology, I love studying all of the things. But I'll be honest, I'm still learning how much I don't know. Like last year, I watched a couple classes by Dr. Elaine Ingram, who does a lot of work with soil biology. And I thought I was really smart until listening to this lady, and I was like, I feel like a seven-year-old right now. Like, she's talking so far over my head. There's so much that I don't know. Even the gurus on the internet that we see don't really know month view for a farm. So it's like, to have a 100-year view, the only way to get there is you gotta think beyond yourself. You gotta think beyond me, my farm, my cicadas.
Wow.
We gotta think beyond ourselves and think, what about the next generation, or my kids' kids, or my neighbor's grandchildren? And I think that's something, as permaculturists, regenerative agriculturists, homesteaders, whatever you want to call us, that we really have confronted the last 4 years coming out of COVID. Because really, in that time, a lot of people jumped into farming and homesteading. The why was pretty rough. Well, I got to supply for my family. I got to grow toilet paper plant because X, Y, and Z. I've got to have avocado trees because caloric intake, and I need to supply a 2,000 calorie diet for 5 people in my family this many months out of the year. So if I start with a Joey avocado that starts getting ripe in July and I end with winter Mexican in February, this is my thought process. I'm not making fun of other people. I'm literally making fun of myself and inviting you on the journey. If we have that dialogue, we got to look back and go, wow, that was rough. I think we all made some decisions during the last 4 years that we went, that was rough. I learned a lot, in that time process. But at the end of the day, I look at what I planted, and I can still look back and go, yeah, I didn't plant that for the right reason. But now, instead of being motivated by fear, could we be motivated by hope, by faith? By loving our neighbor? Can we be motivated by other things that transcend our lifetime, our farm, and our chickens? I think the answer to that is yes. They're caring, when I say for people, I'm talking about people also teaching them at a heart level, helping families walk out good conversations and as a school challenging conversations, probably more often than we like. And that's a difficult journey. But the garden has become for them a safe place for their family, but also a safe place to invite others into along with. You guys have a little activity. These are the 2 mics you're going to use, and he's got a special one for you right there.
Thank you so much, Kris. Thank you so much, Momma, for inviting us here. And I wanted to start with what we call in our classrooms an activator. So this is just to get you guys involved in this thinking and representing what people care means to you. And I have some loose parts. These are just different materials that our community has brought in, our families have brought in. I've gotten from Shanti, from her bamboo. And so all these different materials that collected as a community that help us to represent our thoughts and ideas. If you'd like to come up and grab a few pieces, and you're welcome to them.
Everybody has to come up. Everybody's got to grab at least one thing.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Piece here that seems to me like a foundation piece. And when I think about layering, I think of that people care as having that foundation for people to stand on and being connected. And so I've got a couple rings of bamboo on top of it that are all connected with 4 pieces in the middle that represent support in my family. So that interconnectedness, I connected to everything else. That's how I represented it.
Very different setting, places where you didn't worry about distractions. My parents would say, "Wow, one day we had this St. River out in our house, and we go out and back and play for hours and come back in at 2 o'clock at night." Responsibility was much higher. The ability to take care of yourself, the ability to be a steward in the land was very high. Today, our smartphones dictate for our children their lives. The anxiety levels now in teenagers in America are higher than they were in the 1950s in psychiatric patients. It is an immense challenge that we face. And so when we had this purpose and vision to be able to create a school members, proved people in North America that live this lifestyle live 10 to 12 years different. The difference is based on whether you're pescatarian, vegan, or if you're actually a meat eater. The funny thing is the pescatarians live the longest, but just whatever your style is from there. So one of the hard things that you have to do is how do we pass it along and how do we actually rewire the brains of our children? Because if we are now set in a time when everyone is on their phone and we don't know how to have a conversation, how do we go about changing that culture to where we can talk with each other? And I'm feeling my wife that she wants to interject right now because we've been married that long that I get that connection. So I'm going to step back and turn it over to her for a little bit and talk about some of the ways that we build those connections with people.
So I think going back to
How in the world do you even start looking at teaching math or science or these other things? How in the world are you using the garden to do that? Like that just seems so overwhelming, I think, a lot.
So our approach to nutrition is kind of different. What we're doing in the garden is lifelong learning, and doing it conceptually, not necessarily through a specific discipline, allows them to make those connections on their own and allows them to be the agents of their own learning. So we explore what does connection look like in relation to sharing the planet, what does responsibility look like in connection to sharing the planet. And so when you start asking these questions, you begin to think about it. You started talking about food waste.
See, yesterday I was just a little tiny seed, but today I've grown so much and I know so much today, and thinking that today is the last day of school and it's summer and I'm going into 4th grade, and after that I'll be going into 5th grade. It's just I was a little tiny seed and now I'm a big seed. So,
So there's a career that combines both of these things. And I was flabbergasted that that was something that was real. And so that was called landscape architecture. I was very excited about that. So from quite a young age, I knew what I wanted to do, or I thought I knew. You know, the journeys, I think all of our journeys, some
kind of, go like this, and some people go like this and then turn all the way and go in a completely different path. I wanted to learn all the different aspects of the outdoors. So felt like once I went through school, I was learning about plants and horticulture first. In college, I did college for horticulture at Farmingdale College on Long Island. I did that first for the first 2 years, learned all about plants and everything. I'm like, I don't know enough about brickwork. And I became a partner in a company doing brickwork. I didn't know enough about pools. It felt silly when clients were talking to me about pools and I didn't know enough. So I went and worked for a pool company for a while. Then I worked for an environmental company for a while. So I was out, working in their compliance department, energy and atmosphere, and did LEED certification, which is leadership in energy and environmental design, and started getting an understanding of the ecological aspects of what the designers and what the landscape architects were working on, and was trying to understand what's happening with all the builders out there and destroying the environment. And I got to see the inside into some of those things, which were very important to me, because you go into a neighborhood, it's all gated now, which nobody else is allowed to come into our rich neighborhood, and we don't want to clear cut every single grandfather oak and tree and stuff, bring in all this non-native soil and bring it up, and so the blow counts are the right for the foundations and stuff like that. So over engineering, right? So I got to see all of those kind of the red tape, and on both sides actually. I got to see what they were doing wrong, and I got to see what the environmental company was doing right to try and meet the standards of the EPA and the standards of the municipalities. So that I hate the phone. I hate not that there isn't positivity out of technology, but I just abhor, and as you guys were speaking about this constant connection. My phone's got to be in my pocket all day. Who knows what it's radiating into our bodies, right? I already have young children. I see them. I tried to keep them so far away, but then you got a grandma over here and this one doing that, and if the school doing this, rewarding with sugar at every point because they're in public school. And so you're trying to, for me now, I'll say being awakened, right? I see what's kind of going on in the world and how we have everything backwards. A reward system for kids, what is grabbing all of our attention. And so now it's constantly a struggle for me to find or get up each morning and not be annoyed, right? So I have to just keep that at bay and make progress one step at a time. What can I do today? How can we raise the kids in our household, and then how can we affect our clients' state of minds and nourish their bodies and their knowledge as well. So bringing it all back together, my business was in ornamental for quite some time. I've been in landscaping. Now I'm going to be I just turned 41, and so I've been in this game for like 25 years. And in the past 5, I realized that I did not want to be a part of just making rich people's houses look pretty. That to me, and we got really good at it. Our business was growing. We were making good money. That money allowed me to buy the property that I have now. I built a nice custom house on a couple of acres, and everybody's happy. But for me, it wasn't about that anymore. I didn't find the meaning in going to people's homes just to make it pretty. I still see the value for that, not completely discrediting that or any of the companies that still do that. Perhaps they can also say, let's beautify and raise plants that we can harvest from, that nourish our bodies and also look pretty at the same time. So we started transitioning away from just ornamentals, and that business is called Garden, Stone, and Home. And I wanted to not just reinvent that business. I wanted to start fresh. I wanted to start a completely new business with a new name that was a big leap for me. It was a big leap of faith to abandon this business in the apex of its success, or the rise up of its success in my late 30s. But I just felt such a calling to moving towards the edible side and the medicinal side of plants, and then changing people's lives, getting everybody to understand that there's much more to life than just trying to make money and work the 9 to 5 and pay bills and complete the rat race. Giving back and sharing all of your knowledge, experiences, resources with your community, with your employees, and with our clients. And so as I started thinking about, when Kris asked me to be a part of it today, what did I want to share about the fair share? There's specifics within each one of those categories. Like for resources, you can look at sharing resources with people, such as tools, such as labor, your time, things like that. So resources are very important. And not everyone has the same resource. Money, right? Before I have no money, we have to make money in order to have no money. So, that's we have to put a price onto a job in order to get to the ultimate goal of living like a Native American, which is not completely shared in my household. So I'm kind of still working on that. But there it is. 50%. Yeah. So, even the fact that we have to put up, fences and draw lines and say, hey, this is mine. And for a while, I was into the prepping. It was like Kris had mentioned, when COVID came about, everyone's going into fear, and then, doomsday prep, and all that stuff. But, you can go too far with it, and you can, get yourself bogged down. I certainly did. And you're on the computer researching all these different things. And I wanted to get a land patent. I was like, nobody knows about this Bureau of Land Management, Department of the Interior. They don't give them away anymore, and all this stuff. You can protect yourself, don't pay property taxes, and whatnot. But you can get too far involved into those items and lose focus of what really is at stake. Your own happiness, your family, the people, affecting people that are around you. And if any of those things are possible, then you can work on them over time. It's not a rush to have it happen tomorrow. And like Kris was saying, with we're only here for somewhere between 70, 80 years, or possibly 100 or less if we have an accident or we get sick. Those demarcations on land don't really matter, right? We just are stewards of the land for that time. Outcome on the right side there, and that was something that was very important to the client to have look very formal. So we do different styles. We'll do like formal styles. We'll do informal food forests and things like that. And there's whatever you come up with. Sometimes we're trying to discover the problems on the property, water management. We do berms and swales, and we try to correct the properties that way. So form follows function, right? So we want to correct the functionality of the property first, and then move on. Ends up on that headstone. So
now, how did you train your staff to go from ornamental to like doing this? Because this is very different than fancy $3 million homes.
It is.
Like, how do you teach a staff to do that?
So my foreman has been in landscaping for 35 years, and he's how do you teach an old dog new tricks, right? And so he's used to doing things a certain way. So over time, I just kind of say, oh, okay, let's try it this way, and get his feedback as well, and say, well, he knows he's really good at irrigation, so we're gonna lean on him for all of that kind of side, and they're gonna lean on me for most of the design side and the execution of what kind of plants that we're gonna be putting in and whatnot. But they love it. They're actually super excited. My newer guy is actually one of my best friends from college that went through his journey of life and now has fallen back into this area. And so he was living in Brazil. He speaks Portuguese, and he brings and he's very strong, a big Marine, and so he brings an exciting part to the process as well. Now, one, he brings labor and help that way, but I'm training him to open up another branch in Tampa. Will be part of the challenge.
Just show us a couple more of these.
Yes.
Just 10
just
seconds
kinda
on
go
each
through
one.
each one.
Different looks of these food forests, which, this client's design or that area of the design is very different than one that's going to take up your whole backyard. But knowing, this particular client needs something that's only on the back edge or the side edge of their property, and they've got a really big growing space, And that's such a unique gift to be able to give, that not every food forest looks like the Shire in Lord of the Rings. I wish they all did, but sometimes they need to look like the villages.
Right.
And sometimes, you know what I mean? Sometimes they need to look like the front yard of a school. Or, you know, there has to be different application for the right plant to be in the right place. And I love the contrast of those two examples that you just gave are very different.
That's why I brought those.
Yeah.
And these are very recent. So this one's only like maybe March was completed.
Okay.
So, and the challenge here was that this whole backyard was flooding almost up to the back porch, which you can't see here, but she wanted to keep the grass. So, I mean, of course we want to get rid of as much grass as we can, but we can't get rid of maybe all the grass at the first stage of the decline, right? We have to build trust, and we have to see what are you going to utilize the space for. And so here it was, how do I solve the water? She didn't even bring me over for food at all. I was doing work at a neighbor's house, and she asked me to come over and can you solve my water problem? And so I see it as an opportunity. What can I do? So what we did was we put a swale in, which is the opposite of a berm, right? You dig into the ground, and that's where water kind of dumps into that. And we moved the water, and I should mention, in the backside we're seeing where the woods are, that's a wetlands there, and the front yard, in the front of the house, which the pool is in the front of her house, which is strange, there's a lake. So she's in between two extremely challenging water bodies. She's very, very low. And so I'm like, how do I solve that, right? So what I told her is I can solve all the storm water, I think. I don't know, I can't solve any groundwater. If there's a hurricane and the lake rises, well, I'm not God, so I can't move that water, but we can take care of 95% of it. And so she was fine with that. And what we did was we created a swale and a berm behind it. So the berm functions for two reasons. One, it separates the water from the wetlands from coming back in, right? And then we use that as an opportunity to grow food on top of it, because now we're bringing in new soil. And then the swale functions as moving the water that's happening, or is falling from the sky from the house, and the downspouts and rushing out from the house and everything, and it's catching to the swale, then it's moving it downward. We have pipes in the swale. And you can see in that upper right picture, there's a tank that's coming out of the ground, and that's capturing all the water through all the pipes, and then there's a sump pump in there that's pumping it up back into the lake. And so this yard now, after massive rainstorms, was unusable, and now it's completely usable for the client, and they have food growing on top of it as well. So we were really excited that it grew. And the last person that did this, they had a similar, they didn't have the berm or swale, but they had a tank in the ground and a sump pump, but it failed because they didn't put gravel around it. So it's important, not only the idea, but the actual engineering, the execution of it in its outcome. So that was a really neat one there. This was a project that Kris actually, I was blessed to have Kris bring me on in Ocala that we did. It was for an architect on a horse farm, and you're seeing here they wanted a place to entertain clients and to overlook. It's the highest point of the property, overlook the riding arena, and so they wanted an olive orchard. So we did an olive orchard for them, and in later at times they brought in a fire pit and chairs, and we've done speeches there and hosted parties and they're getting a harvest of olives too to make their own olive oil and stuff. So they're very excited about that.
And the daughter learned real quickly, you don't just eat olives off the tree.
Oh yes.
Her mom did not educate her on that component.
Yes. Very bitter. And this was a project that is actually only 6 houses down from where I live. He's also on a lake, and this is the wettest part of his property.
Awesome.
And
I love the borders that you've got on this one.
We did that second. We did that second. The first time we did this, there was we gave him the option and he declined it. And he ended up going with this after Ian, because what happens, the lake rose so much, it actually inundated. When I told him, if we do a food plot in this super bog area of your property, we have to berm it up. We got to be coming 2 feet out of the ground. For when we anticipated the whole thing, right? We didn't know that such a rain event was going to come through the hurricane. But what happens is all those aisles filled with water for about 2 to 3 weeks, which normally would kill every fruit tree, right? Or most fruit trees. Yeah. The only 2 fruit trees that we lost were the loquat and an avocado, which really don't like wet heat. So we lost 2 trees, out of all of those plants in there. The only other trouble that it brought was it brought all the weed seeds from the lake. And so the borders were reflection of stage 2, saying, hey, my maintenance guy wants to know exactly where to clean up to, because this is the client wants to be formal somewhat, you know. And so
That's a cool
we
blend
solved
of
it.
the
Yeah.
formal with the
With the-
Shire.
right.
Like, to me, this is like a great husband and wife garden of
Mhm.
like, you know, Derek gets the borders, and then she, Nalani, gets the crazy Shire, you know, down the center. Like, that's
Right.
a cool blend, I feel like.
Exactly. And I should mention that he actually suffering from cancer. He had like stage 4 cancer. And so this was supposed to help that organic healing and process, which I know you're familiar with. So we felt even more connected to the project to try to get him to a state of, and it was very recent, to a state of good health. And then this is just a little visual about Fair Share, with sharing resources, sharing knowledge, sharing harvest, and sharing experiences. And so I'll just kind of breeze through them real quick with resources, sharing tools, money, labor, even carpooling, and then articles and things like that when we get onto the food forest, permaculture websites and stuff. All of that is part of sharing. So that's resources. Knowledge would be your ideas, your field experience, any tests that you've done, data that you've done on your plants at home, and you're sharing that with people. That's very important. For harvest, that's the obvious thing, so sharing harvest, right? So if you have a tree and then it grows really big, and then you get lots of mangoes, right? You first take care of your family, and then you can share with the community or share with others. Sharing your seeds and cuttings. Perhaps you have a really productive plant. Somebody else, let's say it's a loquat, and someone says, hey, I love the fruit on your loquat. I grew some loquats, some seedlings. You know, do you mind if I take a cutting off yours and graft it onto mine? Absolutely, that's what we're here for, right? That's what we should be doing. And then, of course, you know, elixirs and potions and anything else that we can have
We
as
call
part of
them
our
tinctures.
tinctures,
Yeah.
right? I like to make it more
Same
whimsical.
thing, but we call them tinctures.
I like to bring it to Harry Potter. Okay.
I love Jesus, but I Harry Potter a little. You know?
Well, that's what I call with my wife, and I always come into the shower, and we have a dual shower, and I'm always seeing like 5 extra bottles in here. I'm like, what are the kinds of potions that are you bringing into the household now, you know? So, and that's why I call it potions. And then experiences. Experiences are super important to be sharing with our community, and you know, when we have our wins and losses. It's important to share our failures so that others don't fail, right? We want to keep bringing everybody up, right? And so that's super important. And support. I have a little picture of a tree falling over and somebody struggling on the bottom, and then somebody trying to help lift that tree up. And that's what this is all about.
Online ether that I know is your favorite place in the world.
I hate it. I hate it. I thought you know, back in the
Can we
older
send
days.
you a smoke signal?
Yeah,
Are you on
you can do that.
Instagram?
Drums, you know, drum patterns, Morse code. No, I would say you can go onto Facebook. We're on Facebook as Sweet Orchard. You can go onto Instagram, which is Sweet Orchard, I think _FL or something like that. I barely go on. I'm terrible with the social. You would think I would be good because I'm not super old yet, but I don't like doing it. And then my website is sweetorchard.com as well.
Thank you so much. We're finished here with just a short explanation. We're going to go for a tour, and parents, this is your cue if you have kiddos to just start gathering some things to get ready to walk them out, because I know it takes a couple minutes to do that, and I want to make sure that we get a chance to get around the farm before the sun goes down. So this is Melissa from Momma G's farm.
Hey!
Closer, okay. So real quick, I'm thinking about the land because I've got, you know, a whole story how I started everything. But when we bought this property, it was an old landscape nursery that had been vacant for over 5 years. And the only thing that was here was this oak tree and the old single wide trailer that's behind those bushes by the bathroom, which is basically storage. And so everything else either was sand,
and we ripped up a lot of ground cover. So, I mean, we had just dirt everywhere. The dogs would run and just dust would be everywhere. So we just slowly started building up our soil using the wood chips and compost. And we just started in one spot and just slowly moved out. And then we tried different things like you see what we have. Didn't always work. Like the raised beds looked great, but they fried our plants, so we had to put a screen top on it. But everything we've done here has been slow and steady, and we've just been blessed. So, and the other thing I want to tell you before we get going is the fig tree. So I didn't know about the nematodes, and everybody said, why are your fig trees doing so well? I'm like, I don't know. But apparently, if you put wood chips and compost around your fig trees, that's not the environment that the negative nematodes like. And so we didn't even know what we were doing. But everything we've done here has been hit and miss. We've learned from beautiful people like Kris and Paul, what to do and how to do things. But we'll just go ahead.
Before we go, I do want to ask, why in the world did you say yes to starting a farm? Because I think a lot of people, we have this like Instagram desire of, oh, I saw this farm online, it was so cute, and I want to farm and homestead and live with all my friends and community and yada, yada, yada. Those people are stupid. Like, they've literally never farmed before. Like, you have no idea what you're into. I don't even have to look at the audience, and I know some of you husbands just looked at your wives. I don't even have to look at the audience. So why, because you knew enough about farming and agriculture to know it's a lot. Why would you say yes? Because this is a big site. There's a lot happening, and it's beautiful. Why would you say yes to knowing what you're jumping into here?
Right. Well, we started initially growing moringa. That was our main crop.
Woo!
We were selling. I got into it because I came out of pain management and was looking for ways to build my body back up. I was a hot mess. And so I was trying to stay away from Walgreens and utilize plants for my healing. And it started with moringa, started on a 1/4 acre, and then we started selling it because everybody wanted something because how the changes in me, they wanted it. So I started telling people, y'all gotta pay me because this is work. And then we just started selling out so much living on the 1/4 acre that we decided to move out here and make it more where we could reach the community, educate people, help people do what we did, which was come out of, off of medications and using plants to help us heal and stay healthy. And so we're a not-for-profit. We work with donations and the little things that we sell in the store. So, I mean, we're not rich. We live off of our Social Security, but we are a double income family. Both of us get $1,000 a month. Woohoo! So, but, that's what we do. We don't do it for the money. We do it to give back and then to keep ourselves healthy and strong.
It's interesting because your journey started with, I need to help me and my family, realizing, oh, this actually helps neighbors. And then it grows out and out from there. And I don't know if you remember this. I met you, was it 5 or 6 years ago. I was visiting Florida, and you had set up a booth at the Yalaha Bakery, which if y'all have not been there, y'all need to go to Yalaha Bakery. And I was at Yalaha Bakery, and I didn't know anybody. I was literally just visiting Florida that weekend, hadn't moved here yet. It was before COVID. And I saw what she's doing, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. I had short hair then. Like, it was like real short.
You were really nice. I know when we I'm like, man, but you were, different.
I was different.
You were different.
I'm still different.
But, we were just getting into and you were just so knowledgeable. We're all different. And so if you're, like we don't have sidewalks, that's for sure here. So, or straight edges. But,
I wore Crocs to talk tonight, so,
I know, well,
it's fine.
I've dressed up. So, but yeah, we've met so many beautiful people, and we started at the farmers markets and stuff, and then we just grew to, COVID got us staying here full time. And so after COVID left, I think that this guy is after me. But when COVID was over, we just decided to continue to bring people here. That running to markets every week was a waste of time. And then this way we could teach them more about how to do it. Because, you know, at a market, you can't really give too many instructions. So.
Now talk a little bit as well about what you're doing with the kids programs, the adventures that you guys have here as well.
Yeah, so the first Saturday of every month, 10 o'clock, we do a kids gardening adventures. It's different, and I don't have a schedule of what we're going to do each month. Because it's going to depend on what's growing, what the temperature is, what's fruiting. If you guys see any ripe figs, you're welcome to take them, or papayas while you walk around, but not the avocados. So
those are mine.
So I have family members that will kill me. So because I only have one tree. But yeah, so we do that once a month. The kids come out under the shade cloth over there, and we just do different things. We grow plants, and we do seeds. We do cuttings. We harvest. I teach them about land, taking care of the land. We have gopher tortoise. They're protected. Why they're protected. We have a pollinator field at the front, the part that's not mowed. So there's a lot of things that we do that we educate the kids in.
And how do families find more info about when those are and what you're going to be doing that month?
So I'm really bad at the website. So I mean, it's on the website, but the best thing is Facebook or Instagram. I just put my post in there to remind people. We ask you to register for the kids class. There's no charge. Just because if I have a special thing where I'm giving them like gardening journals to draw plants.
But if
or whatever.
they want to write you a check, you should be taking that check.
We do take that.
Okay, good.
So yeah, we won't. It does help, and we know we're not going to get rich, but it does help with supplies and stuff for the kids, But it's not required, because I feel like every kid should have an opportunity. And if you put, $25 a class, some people that's a lot of money. And so I feel like, people that have it will give it, and those that don't won't. And it's, God will take care of it. That's how we work. So.
And I love the language that you're using as you're sharing, because you've connected the way you do earth care and people care and even the financial part, and I think those, for a lot of us, we've got to do better at having all of those in our dialogue. As permaculturists, it's okay for you to charge money. It's okay for you to sell a product and for it to give you a return on your labor. That's an okay thing. Now, I'm not saying you have to charge, $9,000 just to give somebody an on-site consultation. You might charge $100 or $1,000. There's a big range there, but I think being able to be comfortable talking about, I'm caring for people, I'm caring for kids, I'm caring for my own body and my own wellness, but also I'm getting a return on that labor. Also, I'm caring for the earth. Being able to connect those is a really unique journey to walk. And I think you and John have done so well at connecting some of those dots and intentionally blurring the lines between those tenets of saying it's a good thing to do all of those things. So I would like to invite you guys, if you want to kind of gather some of your possessions. We're going to do a 15 or so minute walk kind of through the farm. So some of the things that we're seeing, obviously bananas, salad, so some edible salad trees. Quite a bit. Figs and papayas.
Yeah, so mine are all on the left. I might have so I didn't know they were going to get
It is evergreen, yep.
And so these are just
Yopon holly,
plants that I keep in this little
yerba mate, yerba mate, baby.
Selling and propagation.
Just watch the hoses guys. This is Roselle hibiscus. You guys know that one?
Hibiscus.
They're still young. They're only like 3 months old.
What's up, baby?
They've gotten big and fat quick. So I'm sure that's
3 months old.
for meat. But
Hey, cuties.
these are our guineas.
Guineas.
For those that don't know what a guinea fowl is.
Oh, these are the guineas over here. Look at the little fowls.
Yeah, so they're prolific bug eaters. So we're building our flock. We're still kind of low. We lost a couple the other night because when we added the babies, it upset the other ones and they wouldn't go in at night. They were just going every direction and I was just getting mad. So I said, okay, you guys are sleeping outside, and then 2 of them got killed. So I'm pretty sure it was a raccoon. But yeah,
And these
so
they're very cold hardy, so even up into Michigan, New York, into Canada, they do really well. Especially on properties that have a lot of ticks, they'll eat about 2,000 ticks a day.
Wow.
So if you've got deer ticks that you're trying to control, it's a really good solution. One of the other gifts that they give could also be viewed as a negative. They are like guard dogs. So if anything new comes onto property, they're going, they're really sounding an alarm if it's unusual, which is great if you're trying to, watch out for hawks or owls.
They're pretty chill for guinea. Most people say theirs are really loud, but I think we've just broken ours in. And so they will, like when they're nesting, if the
There's something weird.
They'll get a little excited. The male will try to protect. But otherwise, they're pretty quiet.
You got to be ready for the sounds. They're a little more adventurous, and again, she's very hands-on. They're out here every day. But farmers that are not quite as hands-on, it takes a long time for the babies to realize where home is. So it takes 3, 4, 5 months.
You get olives, but not really, not yet, not enough to brine them or anything. But the leaves have a ton of benefits. So it's a really pretty evergreen, and it's an important one for your overall health. So we've got some black sugar cane. You can't really tell it's black unless you pull this down. So the black there, we haven't really utilized it yet.
So that one is black sugar cane?
Black sugar cane. So this year has been really weird with the weather. We got a flush about a month ago where we got a lot of fruit and then nothing, and then now it's fruiting again. So this hot, cold, weird weather we had at the beginning of the year kind of messed them up. But anytime you come, you're welcome to pick figs. So, and we utilize turmeric. Yeah. And so you really can't tell because this time of year is really hard for most of my medicinals. But I grow a whole raised bed there of dandelions. So normally, but this time of year they're not really looking too good, so you really can't tell. This is my stinging nettle that I just cut back. It was a big bush.